Chapter 73 Li Feiyu's Thoughts. Upon entering the house, Lady Li smelled a strong odor and saw sect leader Ma and Elder Chen sitting cross-legged in front of the bed with their eyes closed and in the process of harmonizing their breathing. In the space between the two people, a basin of black blood emitted a horrid stench. According to Han Li, their faces were a bit pale due to the large amount of energy that they had expended for the sake of treating Elder Li. Lady Li's heart was suddenly filled with gratitude towards the two men. Although she did not know any martial arts, from what she had just seen and heard, she knew better than to bother the two people and quickly slowed down her steps, lightly approaching the front of the bed and looking towards the person lying in the bed sheets. She only saw Elder Li sleeping soundly on the bed. The painful look between his brows had completely disappeared, although his face still looked greenish-yellow. The black qi was gone, and the poison spots on the body also disappeared, leaving behind tiny scars that were nearly invisible to the human eye. Seeing that the poison had almost been completely removed, Lady Li couldn't help but cry out in joy. A moment later, she wiped away the tears from the corner of her eyes. She remembered that she should go back and thank Han Li again, and thus she promptly gathered herself and quietly walked back to the living room. Once she stepped out of Elder Li's room, she was immediately surrounded by people who assaulted her with rounds of questions that never ended, so she did not have the chance to see Han Li. She couldn't help but be surprised at the fact that Han Li was absent, so she hurriedly asked Ma Rong and the other people where he had gone. After listening to their reply, Lady Li realized that Han Li had prescribed a rejuvenating drug before leaving, nimbly excusing himself, not staying a moment longer. After hearing this, Lady Li was speechless for quite a while, but within her heart she had already made a firm decision. She decided that once Elder Li's body recovered, the couple, husband and wife, must personally pay a visit to Han Li and give a large sum of money in thanks for saving Elder Li's life. Lady Li did not notice that within the room, aside from medicinal god Han Li, there was another person missing. Li Feiyu had left instead of staying around Zhang Shuer like a constant shadow on the side of some obscure small road. Han Li, who had recently left Elder Li's house, was laying on the grass with his hands under his head, relaxing under a lush and dense tree. Just when he had finished counting to 1,000, a black shadow suddenly pounced on his body. He became very aggressive, as if he was deeply annoyed by the disturbance. "Hey! Stop messing around. How come every time we meet, you always try to jump me? I'm not Zhang Shuer." After Han Li finished speaking, the black shadow nimbly turned around in midair, landing on Han Li's side as light as a feather. His posture was elegant to the extreme. It was precisely Li Feiyu who had followed him. "Han Li, wouldn't that dark and swarthy appearance of yours be completely shamed when compared to Lady Zhang Shuer?" After hearing his words, Li Feiyu was irritated, and gently lifted his right toe to poke at Han Li's buttocks in a reprimanding manner. Hearing his response, Han Li rolled his eyes and smoothly stood up. "It seems that our senior disciple Li values his beloved over his friends. I truly am not prudent when it comes to making friends. Stop speaking nonsense. What did you call me out for? You have to know that I finally found a rare opportunity to get close to Zhang Shuer, but I'm wasting it by meeting with you. If you can't say something worthwhile, then don't think you'll be able to get away with it." Li Feiyu appeared to be distraught and deeply angered by Han Li because he was randomly called out. "Did I call you out? How come even I did not know of it? Did I personally say it?" Han Li intentionally pretended to be shocked by exaggerating his surprise. "When you came out of the room, you winked at me. Only a blind man wouldn't have seen it. Stop beating around the bush. If you have nothing to say, then I truly must return." Li Feiyu turned around as if he wanted to leave, preventing Han Li from being able to tell whether or not his attitude was a bluff. Han Li did not plan to continue teasing his friend. His expression suddenly changed as he sternly told Li Feiyu, "Don't blame me for being meddlesome. As your friend, I want to confirm something. Does Zhang Shuer know that you are taking the essence extraction pill and that you only have a few years left to live?" Upon hearing these words, Li Feiyu turned silent. His face became deadly pale, without a visible hint of blood. Han Li sighed softly, knowing that he did not need to ask any further. The answer was evident in Li Feiyu's expression alone. Why must you always interfere with my affairs? Li Feiyu's expression was extremely sorrowful, finally speaking after a long, agonizing pause. Han Li did not reply to Li Feiyu's question. Instead, he softly patted the other's shoulder, trying to console him. You must have heard before that if you invest too much in this kind of relationship, your sorrows will only grow. Han Li finally spoke what was on his mind after Li Feiyu had somewhat calmed down. He phrased this with a wise tone, making Li Feiyu pause for a moment. I am trying to pull you out of the trap before you fall too deep so that you will suffer less pain in the future, Han Li warmly said, supplementing his words. Li Feiyu looked at Han Li with a strange look in his eyes. What, do you have a problem? Asked Han Li. He was disturbed by Li Feiyu's gaze and hurriedly looked at him up and down. You little brat, how old are you that you can speak this way? Why do you speak as if you were an old, rosy hand when it comes to relationships? Don't tell me that you have already experienced the love of a woman. Li Feiyu suddenly opened his mouth to ask. Of course not, these words come from reading books. I think they are very reasonable, so I used them to explain things to you. Oh. So it's like that, I say. How can a presentable man with an unrestrained and natural appearance like me know less about matters of the heart? Do I need your lengthy criticism? Our relationship exists only in my mind. Li Feiyu released a lengthy sigh, continuously patting his own chest as if he had received a big scare. Han Li was speechless. Wasn't this fool's recovery way too quick? He was just talking about living and dying, and in the blink of an eye, he was once again laughing like an idiot, still an emotional person. But Han Li was stubborn as a mule and asked, are you really giving up on Zhang Shuer? You won't take action when you see her in another's embrace. Li Feiyu's giddy appearance immediately turned extremely cold. Filled with killing intent, he declared, I will chop off the hand of anyone who dares to touch Zhang Shuer. I don't care about the things that happen after I die, but as long as I'm alive, Lady Zhang Shuer belongs to me. The tone of his words could turn anyone into solid ice.